Are you a good person at heart? You do a lot of good for people, but it seems like you're not financially growing and you're not prospering? Well, if you're anything like me, then it's because of your hidden sins. It's because of our weaknesses. And when I realized this, I began doing 3 things that I'm going to break down to you that completely changed my life and helped me to begin to prosper and to see my career grow. And we're going to get into it. So, first off, I want to break down what I mean by hidden sins. Growing up in the church, sin felt like this thing that was about shame, that it was about how others see you and what others can see, meaning like drinking, smoking, murder, life of partying, sex out of wedlock, children out of wedlock. Almost like sin was, how would others think about this? Is this bad in the eyes of society? I come to realize that sin is just completely missing the mark. And the mark being, what purpose does, in this season of your life, does God have for you? Are you executing on that purpose? What decisions are you making that distract you from this purpose continuously? Distracting yourself from your purpose, making decisions that take away from your purpose, is being in a sinful state. And looking at sin like this kind of opened my eyes to this whole world of sin, making me realize that small things can put you in a sinful state, like binging on Netflix, porn, overeating, scrolling nonstop on your phone, anything that distracts you and just keeps you away from missing the mark. And I want to break down my number one before I go into these tips. My number one habit that put me in a sinful state was my giving nature. So I'm a guy who serves. I give and I give and I say yes and I say yes. And I realized that I was saying yes to so many people and giving so much that I was distracting myself from executing on my purpose. I was taking my own resources that I needed to invest, my own time and my own energy, realizing that I was getting nowhere. And the consequences of this sinful state was that nothing of mine was getting built. And that was like the cornerstone of why me as a good person could not financially grow. My career could not grow because the number one thing that put me in a sinful state was overgiving, something that I thought was positive, right? So I want to break it down into 2 different decision making. There's purpose decision making and desire decision. There's more kinds of decision making, but I want to make this simple. Purpose driven is anything that nurtures your current purpose, whether that's learning, reading, executing on goals, staying focused, whatever. Desire decision making is all the bad habits, anything that distracts you, tapping into pleasures, desires, anything that distracts you from missing your mark. Okay? And I want you to understand that you will never know the cost of desire decision making until you've locked into purpose decision making for a long period of time. It wasn't until I actually locked in for 6 months to a year on saying I'm doing this and I'm not going to do this, with discipline, that I seen the benefits and realized, oh, whoa, that was the cost of that one night. That was the cost of distracting myself all day for that week. You know what I mean? So I want you to understand that you're not going to really know the cost until you lock in for a long period of time of purpose decision making, right? I basically learned that the more that I create rules, principles, and disciplines to stay in purpose decision making, it's almost as if God is saying, I can trust you with more because you're not going to distract yourself and disrupt my mission. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind. Now, here are the 3 steps that I use to execute on this. Number 1, which I believe is the hardest, is actually figuring out what the current purpose even is. A lot of times we can't even be focused and make purpose-driven decisions because we don't even know what the target is. What's the target that you even have to hit? What is the current mission? So that's the first part, is sitting down, praying, fasting, writing it out, figuring out what the current purpose is. It could be a combination of the things, the issues that are in front of you, combined with the skill sets that you have. I don't know. You need to sit down, fast for it, grind for it, and do absolutely nothing else, especially your desires, until you can figure that out. Maybe enjoy yourself with your desires after you find your purpose. It's some kind of a celebration, but do not make any of these kind of decisions until you find that purpose. Number two, once you figure out what your purpose is, and you start to begin to put plans together for how to execute on that purpose, you want to assess yourself weekly on what decisions are distracting you from this. This isn't the time to beat yourself up. This is the time to weekly hold yourself accountable or have others hold you accountable and say, what distracted me? What kept me from being as focused as possible or balanced? Because you can have some balance between your pleasures and enjoyment and what your purpose is. But what decisions couldn't I find balance with? What decisions completely knocked me off my square? And finding ways to remove those things for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever you need to do. Create what I call a principle. Some people call it disciplines and rules. Create a rule or a principle that says, this is what I'm going to do to stay in purpose decision mode for a long period of time. And execute. Number three, which is almost a part of number two, give yourself a long period of time with this. Let me take that back. Start small. Tell yourself, you know what, for the next week, I'm not going to do this, or for the next 30 days. But if you really have the discipline, tell yourself 6 months, 12 months. Before you know it, 6 months to 12 months goes by so quick. Okay, so quick. But most people who have a New Year's resolution of getting into the gym, they'll get into the gym for the first 2 to 3 weeks, and then they start to fall off. If they just were able to keep that for 6 months, 12 months, it's the same concept. So I challenge you, give yourself 6 to 12 months. Have somebody hold you accountable if you feel you're not disciplined enough. Now, these are the 3 steps that keep you locked in on the purpose, the current purpose that God got for you. And here's the thing that I realized, like when I'm locked in on the purpose and I'm executing on the purpose, it's almost like everything that I wanted financially, it comes along with that. Me being locked in on my purpose has helped me obtain this building, has helped me sustain the business, everything that I want. So tap in with whatever purpose God got for you. And I guarantee that your desires come along with that. Tap into the book, Break It Negative Cycles, where I break down even more tips on how to break out of traumatic, poverty-stricken habits and mindsets that keep us in our own way of succeeding.